Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Representatives Baum, Campbell, Camper, Cochran, Faison, Garrett, Hawk, Hazelwood, Love, Moon, Shaw, Whitson, Williams, Chairman Hicks.
Here.
You have a quorum.
I got to pay attention. All right. I'd like to call the Finance, Ways, and Means Subcommittee to order for March 22nd, 2023. Are there any announcements or personal orders before we do begin? All right. Let's go to Chairman Cochran.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to welcome, I have a shadow today from the Eagle Forum, Mr. Ethan Weber. So, Ethan, stand up. Awesome. We're happy to have him with us today. Thank you.
All right. Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members, look like I see a friend of mine, old friend from years ago, out in the audience. Older. Oh, yeah, the Deputy Speaker, no. Is that Bill Bradley I see? Hi. Good to see you. Former budget director. So good to see you. I said former. Welcome.
Any other personal orders or announcements? Seeing none, we do have a total of 43 bills on our calendar today. And we're going to begin with item number 1, which is House Bill 804 by Speaker Marsh. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 804.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What this bill does is make reforms to the tangible personal property tax, and it makes it a lot simpler. We have 2 tiers set up for the small businesses to file their tax in just one form and it's going to be like 52% of all filers will fall into this, which will make it a lot easier and simpler. With that, I'll answer any questions.
All right. Thank you, Speaker Marsh. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion on House Bill 804? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 804, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 804 goes behind the budget. Item number 2 is also going to be by Speaker Pro Tem Marsh. That's going to be House Bill 324. You have a motion to second. Let's see here. You have an amendment, looks like 5808. Is that correct? We have a motion to second on the amendment. You want to get the amendment on, Speaker Marsh, or do you describe? Okay, let's get the amendment on. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on Amendment 005808 onto House Bill 324. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Back on the bill as amended. Sir, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This piece of legislation, this proposal is from the administration. Our governor is trying to make it a lot easier to hire good people and retain good people. And what we're trying to do here is basically 3 different items. This amendment provides employees with 12 weeks of paid parental leave for the birth or adoption of a child in accordance with existing FMLA guidelines. It also changes how existing sick and annual time is granted to state employees. Currently their time is accrued month to month. This would provide employees with their time off up front for 1 year for new employees or for the service anniversary date for existing employees. Number 2, it allows for the state to pay for portions or all of employee match for certain benefits. This will allow the state to pay for 50% of the employee match for dental care and 100% employee match for long-term disability. Finally, legislation cleans up ambiguities in existing language for non-TCRS retirement plans managed by the state so that these employees can continue to access the health care benefits that they are currently eligible for. With that, I'll take any questions.
All right. Thank you, Speaker Marsh. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 324. Any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Speaker, the amendment that we just adopted, what did it do to change the language in the original amendment?
I really don't know.
It's the one dealing with the 12 work weeks.
That was in the original. Let me see.
Okay, so nothing really changed. You just
don't
when we
think so.
when we put that on, it just rewrote.
Yeah,
Okay, all right. Thank
I
you.
think so. I'll get you that answer too.
All right, thanks.
Further discussion on House Bill 324. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 324, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 324 moves to full finance. Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number 3 on our calendar. Item number 3 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 493 by Deputy Speaker Johnson. You have a motion to second. You're recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I'm out of order, but I have a shadow with me today, Garrett Maria. He's a senior at Stewart County High School. Let's give him a nice
Stand up,
warm
Garrett. Let us
welcome.
recognize you.
Mr. Chairman, I do have an amendment.
It is traveling, so you are in the proper posture to move forward, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 493 extends the nursing home annual assessment fee to June 30th of 2024.
All right, thank you for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 493? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 493, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 493 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank
Committee.
you. That brings us to item number 4 on our calendar. It's going to be House Bill 806 by Leader Lamberth. Motion. Is there a second? Got a motion and second? Leader Lamberth, you're recognized, sir, for a brief description on House Bill 806.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and we were still talking about the last bill. We were so riveted with that discussion. So this is the RICO bill. This deals with organized crime, and Mr. Chairman, I understand this has other fiscal impact, and I realize it will go behind the budget today. I do hope this is something that we will take up later and bring out from behind the budget, because right now we do not really have a serious tool to be able to go after the worst of the worst criminals in Tennessee that combine many different criminal actors and actions together. And really wreak havoc in our communities. So that's what this bill does.
All right, thank you, Leader. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 806. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 806, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 806 is behind the budget.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, and at least I wasn't talking about a river.
All right, members, we're going to jump out of order just for a second. If you will go to item number 27. Item number 27 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 586 by Representative Gant. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 586.
Thank you, committee and Chairman. What this bill does is it simply removes lawyers from the professional privilege tax, and that is all that it is doing.
All right. Thank you, Representative Gant, for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 586? Hearing none, seeing none, it does have a cost associated with House Bill. There is a cost associated with House Bill 586, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 586 goes behind the budget. All right. That brings us to item number 28. Item number 28 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 587 by Representative Gant. You have a motion. Is there a second? You have a motion second. You are recognized.
Thank you, committee and Chairman. What this bill does is it is pertaining to our DUI laws here in Tennessee, and pursuant to the current code, it is an offense to operate a motor vehicle if the person's BAC level is 0.08% or more. And upon conviction for a first offense, an individual must be sentenced to at least 2 consecutive days in the county jail and no more than 11 months and 29 days. Anyone convicted of DUI for the first time with a blood alcohol content of 0.20 or more must be sentenced to at least 7 consecutive days rather than at least 2 days in the county jail. The proposed legislation revised the minimum BAC for these enhancement purposes from the current 0.20 to 0.15. This means that a DUI offender, the DUI offenders whose BAC level is between 0.15% and 0.19% will now be subject to these enhanced penalties. And I know we're in finance, and Chairman and committee, I am excited to say this does not cost the state any additional money.
All right. Thank you very much, Representative Gant, for this description of House Bill 587. Members, any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 587, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 587 goes behind the budget.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Thank you. All right, members, that moves us back to item number 5 by Chairman Carr, and I think he's presenting a bill in another committee. So without objection, we're going to roll House Bill 1117 to the Hill. Without objection. All right, that brings us to item number 6, also by Chairman Carr. Without objection, we're going to roll House Bill 297 to the Hill. That brings us to item number 7. Item number 7 is going to be House Bill 572 by Representative Carringer. There she is. All right, you have a motion. Is there a second? You have a motion to second. You are recognized on House Bill 572 for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I realize I'm also out of order, but I have a shadow, Leah Pendarbus, who's an 8th grader from Murfreesboro. Let's stand up and recognized.
All right, let's
Thank
welcome her.
Okay. Thank you all. House Bill 572 was brought to me by the Treasury Department. It authorizes the state treasurer to sell or otherwise liquidate a security between 8 and 12 months after receiving the security if the state treasurer determines the security to have a de minimis value. Defines de minimis value as the market value of security held for any person or group of persons equaling less than $500 in aggregate. Authorizes the state treasurer to sell the security immediately after the state treasurer takes custody of the security if the records of the security holder do not reflect the identity of the persons entitled for the security. And currently, the Unclaimed Property Division is holding 1,096 securities with a value of $500 or less. So with this, I would leave this open for any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 572. Any discussion? Hearing none. Chair Lady Hazelwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just to make sure, while this authorizes the treasurer to sell the security, the dollars are still held in the unclaimed property fund. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 572, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 572 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 8. Item number 8 on our calendars, House Bill 1019 by Chairman Doggett. We have a motion to second. You are recognized, sir, on House Bill 1019 for a brief description.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Committee, and I'm out of order, but I have a tall shadow with me today. Mr. Montana Bates from Stewart County High School is here today.
Let's welcome him.
Yes, sir. Thank you. House Bill 1019. What we are doing is enacting the Pregnancy Resource Tax Credit Act. It authorizes businesses who contribute to pregnancy resource centers to exercise tax credits against the business franchise and excise tax.
All right. Thank you very much for this description of House Bill 1019. Any discussion? Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a little more clear of an explanation of what you're doing, Mr. Sponsor.
Chairman Dodd.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for that question and the opportunity to answer. What we're doing is if businesses who contribute to pregnancy resource centers, they would be able to get a tax credit towards their franchise and excise and business tax. So there are some caps on this. They can only contribute up to or only 50% of the pregnancy resource centers. And these are 501c3 nonprofit entities that help with assisting in childbirth and other pregnancy-related issues. So they would be contributing to these entities and be eligible to exercise this tax credit in that. Right now, currently, we don't have anything for that as a business. Individuals can donate to 501c3s and receive federal tax income credit, but as far as businesses that would like to contribute, they can do so now with this. There's a $5 million cap, which is a statewide cap, meaning that once that amount is reached, that businesses are encouraged to continue to contribute and donate to these resource centers. But that's where the tax credit is capped, is at $5 million.
Representative Shaw. Further discussion on House Bill 1019. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1019, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1019 goes behind the budget.
Thank you.
Brings us to item number 9. Item number 9 on our calendars, House Bill 706, also by Chairman Doggett. Is there a motion and second? We have a motion and second. You are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you. There's an amendment code 4453 that writes this bill.
And it is traveling. You're in the proper posture, sir.
Okay, we're good to go. Thank you very much. This bill, as amended, will make the law enforcement, it deals with the law enforcement officers' return to work program, and it lines it with what's currently in place for EMS workers as well as teachers. The current program was passed into law into 2021, and it is set to sunset of this year, but we are extending it for 2 years and making a few changes, reducing the separation period time of retirement from 9 months to 60 days, so roughly 2 months. It'll help agencies have a better chance of recruiting experienced officers before they may seek other types of reemployment after retirement. Increases the amount of the salary the agency is allowed to pay these experienced officers. Currently, as it's set, is at 85%. This would allow an agency to pay up to, or pay 100% of what the salary would be, all while the benefits to the retired officer would be reduced to 70%, but they are able to draw that 70% in conjunction with that 100% salary that they would pay. The reemployment should be at least for 1 year, and it runs as a 1 year to 1 year period. So if a retired officer wishes to continue employment after 1 year, they'll have to go through the process once again. With that, that's all I've got to say.
All right. Thank you very much, Chairman Doggett. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 706. Any discussion? Chairlady Hazelwood.
Just note for the record that this did receive a positive recommendation from the Council on Pensions.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that comment.
Further discussion?
That's the first one I ever got. On council and pensions, a positive
There you go, there you
recommendation.
go.
So I was pretty proud of that. Thank you for bringing that up.
Seeing no further discussion, we're now voting on House Bill 706, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 706 moves to full finance.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you. Item number 10 on our calendar. Hello. Without objection, we're going to roll House Bill 1361 to the Hill. Without objection, so moved. Also, item number 11 is House Bill 1362 by Chairman Farmer. We're also going to roll this to the Hill without objection, so moved. That brings us to item number 12. Oh, there we go. Item number 12 is going to be House Bill, let me get the right place, House Bill 1005 by Chairman Todd. You're recognized. Is there a motion to second? We have a motion to second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. House Bill 1005, as amended, removes an unconstitutional clause in Section 3917-1307, whereby anyone carrying a club or a loaded firearm is committing a criminal offense. This brings our laws relating to the civil rights of adults into compliance with recent federal and state court cases, and it converts our provisions for carry permit holders and law-abiding citizens to firearm permits. With these changes, over the next 3 years, the Department of Safety stands to net over $343,000 per year, and the TBI net over $93,000 per year, while increasing local revenue over $50,000. At the same time, local expenditures are estimated to decrease almost $2 million each year from this point forward. With that, sir, I would ask for passage.
All right. Thank you, Chairman Todd. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1005. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we will have to place House Bill 1005 on a special calendar for bills relative to driver's license, and we'll be hearing that in a couple weeks. So without objection, House Bill 1005 moves to the driver license calendar. Without objection, so moved. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. That brings us to item number 13. Item number 13 on your calendars, House Bill 1006 by Chairman Grills. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized, sir, for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill removes the bond for civil asset forfeiture that a person has to pay in order to have an administrative hearing over the loss of that they may have lost through a civil asset forfeiture.
All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1006. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we will have to place House Bill 1006 behind the budget and consider it at a later date due to the costs associated with it. So without objection, House Bill 1006 will go behind the budget. That brings us to item number 14. Item number 14 on our calendars, House Bill 1008, also by Chairman Grills. You have a motion and second. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This is the electronic stalking bill, I call it, and this has to do with people placing electronic stalking or electronic devices, following devices on or tracking devices on individuals without their knowing, and it creates another course of stalking in the stalking code.
All right, thank you very much, Chairman, for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 1008? Hearing none and seeing none, House Bill 1008 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1008 goes behind the budget. All right, continuing on with the Chairman Grills legislative package on item number 15, we have House Bill 1012. Do we have a motion to second? You have a motion to second. Chairman Grills, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This bill gives the constables a pay raise or an increase in fees for the process they serve, and it also creates a mechanism by which counties can institute, if they so desire, to help with their cost of the constables. So they can, by resolution, they can start supplementing their pay.
All right, thank you very much for this description on House Bill 1012. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1012, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 1012 moves to full finance.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Item number 16 on our calendar. Item number 16 is House Bill 849. I have a request to roll this 2 weeks, so without objection, House Bill 849 is rolled 2 weeks. That brings us to item number 17. Item number 17 is House Bill 1321 by Chair Lady Hilton Haynes. You have a motion to second. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have an amendment traveling with the bill 4250.
That is correct. You are in the proper posture.
Thank you. This bill authorizes a school bus driver to use a portable electronic device for navigation of the school bus and for accurately accounting for students at bus pickup and drop-off locations through use of the device's global positioning system and under certain conditions.
All right. Thank you, Chair Lady. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1321. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1321, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 1321 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, item number 18, House Bill 191. I have a request here to roll this 1 week, so without objection, House Bill 191 rolled 1 week. That brings us to item number 19. Item number 19 is going to be House Bill 1475 by Chairman Hulsey. You have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. This bill tries to address an uptick in police having folks evade arrest and run from them. If you run from the police in an automobile and you don't endanger anybody, it's a Class E felony. If you run from them and you endanger people, it's a Class D felony. These both have minimums, and so this bill increases the Class E from 30 days minimum to 90 days, and it increases from 60 days to 120 days on the Class D.
All right. Thank you, Chairman, for this description of House Bill 1475. Any discussion? Leader Camper.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the bill. Are you saying that if they are evading arrest in a car and they harm someone, then these aggravated penalties will kick in?
That the minimums will kick in.
The
yes.
minimums, yes. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Further discussion, House Bill 1475. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1475, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1475 is behind the budget. All right, that brings us to item number 20. Item number 20, also by Chairman Hulsey, House Bill 1481. We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second. And Chairman Hulsey, I've got 2 amendments here that have been filed. Is there any one of these that you want to run?
Is this 1481?
Yes, sir.
You know, really, it doesn't matter because I'm going to ask you to roll this to the first calendar of 24 because it's combined up with a couple of other things that I got to work out between now and then.
Right, and I meant to get with you before then. This has been calendared 3 times, so what we will need to do, just to get it procedurally right, is we need to just simply put this behind the budget, and it can sit there, and that will do exactly what you wanted for it to do. And then when I put it behind the budget, it's going to go on a special calendar, so it will basically go back to the clerk, and then at that time, you can request it to be taken off notice or whatever you would like to do at that time.
Okay, if you just don't hide it in the closet so I can't find it if you just...
No, sir. We'll put it in the light where you can find it.
Okay.
So with that said, you don't want to put any amendments on. Let's just put the bill behind the budget. Okay, you have a motion, a second. We're not going to put any amendments on. We're going to move forward. And so any discussion on this bill? Seeing none, we're now going to place House Bill 1481 behind the budget due to the costs associated with it without objection. Behind the budget. Thank you, Chairman. That brings us to item number 21. Let me get that last one right just to make sure. It was behind the budget, and as I said, it'll be placed on a special calendar. I should have said that. Make sure I state this correctly. It will be placed behind the budget and considered at a later date. However, since the bill has been calendared 3 times, we will need to place it on a special calendar to be published with our final calendar pursuant to House rules. I'll be glad to repeat that if anybody needs for me to. So without objection, House Bill 1481 goes on the special calendar to be published with final calendar. So moved. Now let's move on to item number 21. Item number 21 is House Bill 1482, also by Chairman Hulsey. We have a motion to second. We do have a motion to second. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bail bondsmen in this state are pretty regulated. They have to go through a yearly in-service training, and actually that's legislated as well with the price that goes with it. It's capped at $240, and it's been quite some time since they've had an increase in that. So this bill does a couple, 3 things. It raises the cap to $450, but it also requires an annual check with the TBI for a criminal background for bail agents, and it instructs them to pay that themselves. And I think at the end of the day, this actually has a positive note, I think, doesn't it?
It sure does. All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1482. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1482, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes do have it. House Bill 1482 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Chairman and Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. All right, that brings us to item number 22. Item number 22 is by Chair Lady Littleton. That'll be House Bill 867. You have a motion and a second. Chair Lady, you are recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Committee. I know that all of y'all saw, or most of you, the Vaughn Lane bus that was out a couple of weeks ago out in the parking lot. We're just asking to get an alcohol allowed to be sold on the bus.
All right, thank you very much for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 867? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 867, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 867 goes behind the budget. Thank you, Chair Lady. All right, that brings us to item number 23. Item number 23 is House Bill 170 by Chairman Reagan. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description on House Bill 170.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of this bill is straightforward. It prevents local governments from denying a land use permit based on a law that might pass, a proposed law. In other words, it requires them to act only on laws that are officially on the books. Every other level of government requires the same process, but there are some in our state, a municipality that has something called a pending ordinance doctrine. And basically what it says is if they have filed a ordinance that is not yet voted on, they can still deny land use to a citizen who wants to use the land that they already own and officially under the zoning documents that exist. I would remind this body, probably unnecessarily, that we have 1,550 bills filed in our own body. If we had such a similar policy, think about the chaos that would exist. Our system of government is a representative republic. Laws are not laws until they are voted on by the elected representatives of the people. Therefore, having a pending ordinance situation is an anathema to our American system. With that explanation, I ask for favorable consideration.
All right, thank you, Chairman Reagan. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 170. Any discussion? Representative Shaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is based upon a law that might pass?
Yes, sir. The pending ordinance document was established by Harding versus Academy versus the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County. Essentially, what it said was that this ordinance that was pending was binding to prevent a citizen who already owned land, actually it was an organization, who already owned the land and was wanting to do with it under existing zoning laws in accordance with what was there. And they were prohibited from doing that.
Representative Shaw.
So what county is this, Davidson County?
Yes, sir.
And the landowner couldn't do what he or she wanted to because of the law that might
That was correct, sir.
pass. Okay. Thank you for your explanation.
Further discussion? Seeing none, Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, what if this, what if they're in the process of doing something with the property? What effect would this bill have on it? If they're already in the process with Davidson County in this case, and maybe something is being appealed or maybe some action is being taken, how would this bill affect that process that the property owner is already in?
This bill would protect the property owner's right to continue under existing zoning laws.
Okay. Until the pending action takes place.
The pending action gets voted on.
Okay.
And passed, presumably passed or not. The point is, straightforwardly, we as citizens don't have to react to something that's proposed in a legislative body. If it doesn't pass, it has no force of law, nor should it.
Thank you.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chairlady Hazelwood.
And just to confirm, even if something did pass, then we don't have a retroactive laws in the state.
That is
So it
correct.
would only apply going forward.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Further discussion, House Bill 170. Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 170, so we will have to place it behind the budget.
Mr. Chair, before you make your ruling, I would like to point out to the committee here, the fiscal note on this particular bill says it cannot be reasonably determined. The fact of the matter is, there would be no cost to the state. Now, I understand that we have rules we have to abide by, but I suggest that perhaps that rule is probably misplaced where you have a situation where it's obvious there's no cost to the state.
Well, it may be obvious, but it's showing up on my OFI, other fiscal impact. So you need to work on that, and then we'll be glad to move that right along. But until then, sir, we'll work with you on it, but I can only go by what's on my sheet here, and it does show a potential fiscal impact. So, but we'll work with you, and until then, because of the costs associated with it, we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, so moved.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to item number 24. Item number 24 on our calendars, House Bill 318 by Chairlady Rudder. We have a motion and a second. You are recognized for a brief description.
A brief discussion.
And
I can do that.
I think, Chairlady, if I'm not mistaken, you've got an amendment drafting code 006190.
I do.
Would you like to put that amendment on? And
I would.
Okay, let's do that. Do I have a motion and second on the amendment? We have a motion and a second on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on drafting code 006190 onto House Bill 318. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Back on the bill as amended. Now you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are several facets of the foster care and adoption systems that can be improved to be more user-friendly, child-centered, and outcome-focused. This bill seeks improvement in two primary categories. That is the adoption process and foster care. This legislation seeks to make the process more friendly, efficient, and attractive as an alternative to abortion for unplanned pregnancies.
All
That's
right.
the bill briefly.
Thank you, Chairlady. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion on House Bill 318? Hearing none or seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 318, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 318 moves to full finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee.
Thank you. All right, item number 25 is House Bill 247 by Representative Barrett. We have a motion to second. We have a motion to second. Sir, you're recognized for House Bill 247.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This bill seeks to add an exemption to the business tax statute for service providers of appraisal services for real estate. This is a constituent bill from a gentleman in my district in Hohenwald who has discovered that he is the only person in the entire region that offers these services that's currently paying business taxes. He's paying it twice, both to the city of Hohenwald and the county, Lewis County. Other clerks apparently are not enforcing this evenly across the board, across the state, so he's asked me to come and seek redress from the state to see if he can get relief from this burden.
All right, thank you very much, Representative Barrett. Members, any discussion on House Bill 247? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 247, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 247 goes behind the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 26 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 1043 by Representative Bricken. We have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 1043.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. House Bill 1043 basically says when we passed the Sports Gaming Act back in 2019, we set aside 5% of the proceeds to the Department of Mental Health for gambling addiction treatment. All this bill does is says also under the Department of Mental Health, if money is not needed for gambling addiction, that's their first priority. Any remaining money will go to juvenile addiction and mental disorders. So it just allows the Department of Mental Health to have that discretion so that money just does not sit unused. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Representative Bricken. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1043. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, House Bill 1043 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1043 will go behind the budget. Thank you, sir. All right, that brings us to item number 29. Item number 29 on our calendar is House Bill 1085 by Representative Gillespie. I don't see him in here, so without objection, we're going to roll this to the hill. So moved. Brings us to item number 30. Item number 30 on our calendar is going to be House Bill 607 by Representative Hale. I don't see him. There he comes. You have a motion and a second for House Bill 607 by Representative Hale. All right. You have a motion second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Good morning, Chairman and Committee. House Bill 607, just very quickly, prohibits insurance companies and TennCare from requiring prior authorization for the repair of power and manual wheelchairs. Basically what this does, the first 2 years, they're pretty much under warranty. This kind of covers from like year 2 to year 4 and 5, which normally at 4 and 5 is when we're going to be replacing that. It's just for prior authorization. I fought this battle myself. Actually, they're coming here in just a few minutes to put my new wheels on that I've been trying to get since January. So I understand the struggle with this, so that's basically what this bill does.
All right. Thank you, Representative Hale. Members, you've heard the description. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, House Bill 607 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 607 goes behind the budget. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right, that brings us to item number 31. Item number 31 on our calendar is House Bill 125 by Representative Leatherwood. We have a motion and a second. Sir, you are recognized on House Bill 125, and it looks like you've got an amendment drafting code 004489. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. You have a motion to second. Would you like to put the amendment on, then describe the bill as a whole?
Yes.
All right, we have a motion to second. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on 004489 on the House Bill 125. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are back on the bill as amended. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee. What this bill does as amended, it was brought to me by a constituent who owns Deal Brothers Trailers. They manufacture and sell trailers. They're located in Shelby County, so just near the border of Arkansas and Mississippi. And they are at a competitive disadvantage because for commercial trailers, if a trailer is purchased and it's going to be removed from the state to another state within 3 days, it is exempt from the Tennessee sales tax on that item. That's commercial trailers. But our law doesn't make a provision for personal use trailers. So what this bill would do is include personal use trailers and put in place the same procedure. People would sign off an affidavit and everything, and as long as they were moving it out of the state within 3 days, they would not be subject to the Tennessee sales tax on that item either. Because again, they're moving it out of the state. And I've actually purchased a car in Mississippi. I didn't have to pay the Mississippi sales tax because I was bringing it back to Tennessee, and I had to pay the Tennessee sales tax. And again, so motor vehicles, other items, that's the case. But for personal use trailers, it's not. And so people have to pay, if they live in Mississippi, they're taken to Mississippi, they have to pay the Tennessee tax. Then they go to Mississippi and have to pay the Mississippi tax. So again, that's how it puts Tennessee dealers at a competitive disadvantage.
Okay. All right, members, you've heard the description of House Bill 125. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, House Bill 125 does have a cost associated with it, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 125 goes behind the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item number 32 on our calendar is House Bill 929 by Representative McKenzie. You have a motion and a second. Sir, you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This bill does one simple thing. It removes a piece of a sentence that says, or receiving foster care services. So what this bill does in a nutshell is allows people who are under 18, under the custody of the Tennessee Department of Children's Services, to get their driver's license for without paying for it. So but before it's just, they had to be under custody and be in foster care. So this just opens that pipeline a bit for a lot of our kids that really, really, really need a small, tiny hand up, and that's what this bill does.
All right, thank you, Representative McKenzie. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 929. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, we're going to place House Bill 929 on the driver's license calendar that we spoke of a little bit earlier. We're going to place this bill on that as well, and we'll hear those and give you another opportunity to come before this committee and present this bill again. So without objection and seeing none, we're going to place House Bill 929 on the driver's license calendar. Without objection, so moved, and we will let you know that date so that you can come back before the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee.
All right, item number 33 is House Bill 190 by Representative Ritchie. I've got a request to roll this 2 weeks, so without objection, House Bill 190 rolled 2 weeks. All right, brings us to item number 34. Item number 34 on our calendars, House Bill 595, also by Representative Ritchie, and I have a request to take this bill off notice. So without objection, House Bill 595 is off notice. All right, that brings us to item number 35, and that is Leader Cochran, House Bill 323. You have a motion and a second. And it looks like, sir, we have a couple of amendments that we need to put on this bill.
That is correct, Mr. Chairman. Let me pull that up. Mr. Chairman, I believe what we I think maybe for housekeeping, we would maybe want to put on Amendment 4955 first,
okay,
if you agree with that action.
All right, that is what I have, 004955. Do we have a motion to second on the amendment? We have a motion to second on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, seeing none, we're now voting on Amendment Drafting Code 004955 on to House Bill 323. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're back on the bill as amended, which brings us to amendment number 2, drafting code 006162. Is that correct?
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Do we have a motion to second on the amendment? We have a motion to second on the amendment 6162, and we're going to get this bill on as well. Any discussion, or this amendment onto the bill as well? Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. We're now voting on amendment drafting code 006162 on to House Bill 323. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We are back on the bill as amended, and you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And so House Bill 323, this is the Governor's Tennessee Works Tax Reform Act. This is one of the largest tax reforms and tax cuts in Tennessee's history. It provides tax relief to Tennessee families. It provides relief to businesses, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, and it just makes us a stronger economic competitor in general. And so how this is accomplished, we reform 3 major areas in the tax code in Tennessee, and that's the business tax, franchise and excise tax, and then the sales and use tax. The Department of Revenue is here to give a brief overview of that if we would like to hear it, and then we can finalize that action if the committee would so desire.
All right, that sounds good. Members, you've heard the description. At this time, I'm going to ask Commissioner Geragano, Autumn Cole, Courtney Swim, Logan Hess, if any of those folks are here and like to testify, make their way up. Any question to the sponsor before we go out of session? Hearing none, seeing none, without objection, we're out of session. And if you would, please just state your name, your affiliation, and you have 3 minutes. Well, no, yeah, you do have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. I'm David Geragano, Commissioner of Revenue. With me is Courtney Swim, our Chief of Staff, and Logan Hess, our Director of Legislation. And as Chairman Cochran mentioned, this bill touches really in 3 areas: improving economic competitiveness, direct relief to business filers, and relief for families. I'll quickly run through the specifics in each of those categories. In terms of economic competitiveness, this bill would adopt federal bonus depreciation, which Tennessee has not adopted in the past, which will speed up the timeline for businesses to recover their costs of investment, starting with an 80% bonus depreciation in current tax year 2023. The bill also adopts single sales factor apportionment, which has been adopted in 32 other states. It'll be phased in over 3 years and will improve competitiveness by removing a disincentive to investing in jobs and property in the state of Tennessee. And finally, it improves the business tax on manufacturers by exempting out-of-state manufacturers who are currently excluded from the exemption that applies to in-state manufacturers, and also addressing an issue regarding off-site storage and resolving that in favor of those manufacturers. In terms of direct tax relief for Tennessee businesses, 3 areas. It creates a new $50,000 standard deduction from the excise tax, so the first $50,000 in net income will be exempt from excise tax. Similarly, it exempts the first $500,000 in property from the property measure of the franchise tax. And lastly, in the area of the business tax, which is the local gross receipts tax, in current law, there's a threshold of $10,000. If your gross receipts are under that threshold, you are not required to register and file returns with the Department of Revenue. Instead, you simply pay a flat $15 license fee with your local government each year. This bill would raise that threshold from $10,000 to $100,000, and it would relieve an estimated 140,000 small businesses from needing to register and file business tax returns. In terms of relief for Tennessee families, it does adopt a 3-month sales tax holiday that would run from August through October of this year. It works the same as the sales tax holiday that we had in 2022. It's just longer. It also adopts a paid family leave tax credit, and this is a franchise and excise tax credit for private businesses who choose to offer paid family leave to their employees. That is completely up to them as to whether they do that, but if they choose to do so, they would be entitled to this F&E credit. It is a 2-year pilot program credit. And lastly, Mr. Chairman and members, the bill would adopt several additional streamlined sales tax provisions. These are part of the streamlined agreement that we've been a member of for almost 20 years. It does not change very much in terms of what actually happens on the ground, but it would adopt uniform language that's been worked out among 24 states and the affected businesses.
Okay. Thank you very much, Commissioner. All right. Does anyone else want to speak, or is that, we'll kind of go to questions now and discussion? Okay, let's open this up. Any questions, discussion for our guests? All right. Chair Lady.
Just a comment, I want to just applaud the work that's being done, particularly to, get rid of a fairly burdensome requirement for small business. We do a lot in the state for large businesses with our, the projects that we do through ECD, but small business continues to be the backbone of business in the state. And so I think the things that are in this bill particularly that would just keep them from having to even deal with the filing when they are truly a small business with less than $100,000 in gross income per year. So thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Chair Lady.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Any other questions or comments for our guests? All right, seeing none, we're going to go. Thank you very much for being here. We're going to go back into session, and we're back on the bill. We'll go back to the sponsor. Leader Cochran, anything you'd like to close with?
Thank you, Chairman and Committee. And just, wanted to touch one more time. The Commissioner mentioned this in his presentation, but, the business tax reform alone, that, by raising that threshold from 10,000 to 100, that's 140,000 businesses that are affected. The standard deduction of the $50,000 for franchise and excise tax, 70,000 businesses. Those businesses are located in every one of our districts, and as the chair lady stated, really the backbone of the Tennessee economy. The food sales tax is significant, and I don't mean to downplay that, but that's a one-time, that's a big thing. But this business tax reform, franchise and excise tax reform, is something that makes us more competitive for generations. And so I think this is a very exciting bill for our state moving forward, and I appreciate your support.
All right, thank you, Leader Cochran. Any discussion? Let's go to Representative Shaw.
Thank you. I just want to say to the sponsor of this bill, praise the Lord.
Thank you. Representative Moon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And under sales and use tax, I was reading this quickly, and before I got a call from my dry cleaner, that's for out-of-state, exempting them the sales tax. Is that correct? Effective January 1st, 2024, impose sales tax on repair of certain tangible personal property, computer software, laundering, and dry cleaning services. But the property is delivered outside the state. Can you help me with that one sentence, sir?
Leader Cochran.
Yes, thank you, Chairman Moon. So yes, that and I just want to make sure that I've got the correct section, that I'm answering your question correctly. We're talking about, if you don't mind me asking back, the goods and services that are or goods that are transported across state line. Is that the question?
You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's correct.
Correct. So yes, so currently, and just the example that we've kind of been using in speaking to members, it would be like if a watch, and so current Tennessee law, if a Tennessee customer sends their watch out of state to be repaired, and the business ships the watch back to the customer in Tennessee, Tennessee does not collect any sales or use tax on that, and so what we would be doing. Right, so a Tennessee customer sends their watch out of state to be repaired, and the business ships the watch back to the customer in Tennessee. Tennessee would now collect that use tax on the service, as a use tax is sourced to the location of the delivery. So we would be reversing what we do currently, if that answers your question.
It does, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, further discussion. We are on House Bill 323. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 323, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 323 moves to full finance. Thank you, Leader. brings us to item number 36. Item number 36 on our calendar is House Bill 537. Do we have a motion to second? We have a motion to second. Leader Cochran. I'm sorry. Chairman Faison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee, this is a bill that will allow the TWRA to use the proceeds of the lifetime license. We passed a law last year to allow them to invest the money that comes in from lifetime licenses, allows them to use the proceeds off of that for operating expenses.
All right. Thank you, Chairman, for this description. Members, any discussion on House Bill 537? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 537, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 537 moves to full finance. All right, Chairman, I think you're item number 37 as well. House
Motion
Bill
on the bill.
142.
Question on the bill.
We have a motion and a second. Well, you have a motion to second. We'll go with that, and you're recognized for a brief description.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Committee, this is a bill that has been in the work for a few years. If you have a CDL and you have a hazmat license, so you're driving a big truck, a commercial hauler across our state, your CDL and your hazmat certificate do not come due at the same time. That has created issues for some of our trucking industry and our truckers. They are hoping to be able to put them all in the same time, so when they renew their CDL, their hazmat is automatically renewed. It's not a different time, because we have had issues with them driving with one expired and not the other. The trucking industry is all behind this, and that's what it's doing. And it had a sweeper in the Senate, but I guess you're still going to send me behind the budget.
No, absolutely not. I'm not going to send you behind the budget. We're going to talk about this bill for a second. Any discussion?
Send me behind.
Seeing no discussion, we're going to place House Bill 142 onto the driver's license calendar. So we're not going to put it behind the budget. The special calendar, the driver's license calendar. So any objection? Hearing none, seeing none, House
Thank
Bill
you.
142 goes
Thank you,
onto the
benevolent
driver's
Chairman.
license calendar. So without objection, so moved. It's taken care of you, Chairman. All right, item number 38. Item number 38 is House Bill 1176 by Representative Garrett. We have a motion and a second. We have a motion and a second on House Bill 1176. And, sir, you're recognized for a description of House Bill 1176.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the Regional Airport Authority bill that reconstitutes the board and allows for the board to be picked by the Speaker of the House, the Speaker of the Senate, picks by the governor, and then they pick by the metropolitan mayor of the particular area where the airport lies. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. And we do have an amendment drafting code by Representative Shaw, drafting code 006024. Do we have a motion to second on the amendment?
Thank you. I've been rolling on the river for so long this
I
morning.
understand we have a motion to second. You are recognized on the amendment.
Thank you.
Drafting code is 006024. Is that what you have, Representative Shaw?
I've got 003011. That's traveling with the bill. That's been with the bill.
Okay, give us just a second. Let's get this.
There's no. Yeah. I got a mark calendar here. I think let me make it okay. Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Which bill are we on now?
We're on House Bill 1176 by Representative Garrett.
I don't have an amendment on that bill.
Okay, give us just a second here.
It's got my name on it? Okay. It is drafting code 006020. Yes. 24, yes. Okay. All right.
Okay. So I think the confusion, let me go back. I think the confusion was, I think the amendment actually got filed by Representative Shaw's secretary, and somehow, but Representative Love has signed it. So we will
Yes.
go to Representative Love at this point.
Thank you.
Since it is your amendment. So at this point, Representative Love, you have a motion and a second on drafting code 006024. If you'd like to describe that amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. Our current makeup of the Nashville Airport Authority is 7 members, and those are appointed by the mayor. The current language of the legislation proposed would have a 10-member board with 3 by the Speaker of the House, 3 by the Speaker of the Senate, 3 by the governor, and the mayor as a member of the board or his designee or his or her designee. And so when we think about the airport authority in Nashville, Tennessee, we know that it is growing. We know that the city is growing. We know that flights in and out of the city are drawing much attention and tourism and resources to the city and to the state in general. It is our belief as a member of the Davidson County delegation, one that has watched this airport grow my whole lifetime since I've been here, that it would best be served if we were to have the number be 1 person appointed by the Speaker of the House, 1 by the Speaker of the Senate, 1 by the governor, and 4 persons appointed by the mayor. That does achieve some sharing of authority with the governor, the 2 speakers, but still allows the mayor of the city of Nashville to have the opportunity to appoint someone to the airport authority that resides in the city of Nashville in Davidson County. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that is, I think, the succinct presentation by myself and Representative Shaw.
All right. Thank you, Representative Love. All right, members, you've heard the description of, and I want to make sure we get this right, of Amendment 006024 by Representative Love. So that was a description you just heard. Any discussion? Questions been called on the amendment? All those in favor of drafting code 006024 onto House Bill 1176, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. No. The noes have it. This motion fails. We are back on the bill as amended. Representative Garrett, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The actual amendment describes the bill, so I would ask for its passage. Otherwise, I can take any questions from the committee.
Okay, we do have someone that has requested to testify on this bill, so I wanted to get it in the proper posture before so that we know what we're discussing. I'm going to ask Mr. Bill Bradley to be making his way forward, but until then, any questions for the sponsor before we go out of session? Hearing none and seeing none, we are without objection out of session. Out of session. Please state your name. You'll have 3 minutes, sir, if you'll just state your name and your affiliation.
Mr. Chairman, I am Bill Bradley. I'm a resident of Davidson County, and my interest in this bill is that. And I'm a former state budget office director, as some of you know. I oppose this bill in its current form. As amended, the bill currently as the amended bill currently stands, because state officials will appoint a voting majority of the board and have dismissal powers. The state of Tennessee government will inherit financial accountability for the airport authority, and Metro will lose accountability. The airport authority will become a discretely reported component unit of state government, reported on the financial statements of the state rather than Metro. Number 2, with apologies to Christie, fiscal note on the bill is deficient in not noting this issue of the shift of financial responsibility from Metro to the government, to the state government. Immediately, the Constitution of Tennessee, Article 2, Section 24, first paragraph, will require the airport authority to expend no funds except pursuant to an appropriation made by law by the General Assembly. And no operating debt may be incurred except that it be repaid in the fiscal year of issuance. I don't know if the latter point is of concern to the airport authority or not, but that's the requirement if they're a component unit of state government. The top executive branch accountants signing the financial statements of the state and Metro government will make the decision determining which primary government is financially accountable for the component unit. This is a determination made in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles using statements of the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. The General Assembly and non-accountant state officials will not make this decision. GASB's first test of financial accountability is who appoints the voting majority of the board. and the ability of the primary government to impose its will through the ability of appointing officials to dismiss their board appointees or through a financial burden or benefit relationship between the primary government and the component unit. Best case, if I am incorrect about the effect of this legislation, you will have created an untethered agency for which Metro government is financially accountable without effective control by metropolitan government. This is not an effective organizational model. The legislature urgently needs to examine the consequences of this legislation before inadvertently taking financial accountability for the local government's airport authority. The only qualified experts to make the decision of accountability are the top state and metro accountants with financial reporting experience, and they sign the financial statements. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate your time and appreciate the committee's time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Good to see some of you.
Members,
Well,
any
good
questions?
to see all of you.
Any questions for Mr. Bradley before he steps away? Leader Camper?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have a question, but it's really good to see you. When I saw you out in the audience, I didn't realize you was even on the list to speak today. But I really value your opinion, and I feel as if you came here today to express this to us, that you truly want to express to this body the impact of what we're about to do. Because you serve with distinction over I don't know how many governors as the budget director. So you come very qualified with what you're saying. So I really appreciate that. And as I imagine you live here in Nashville, so you felt as a citizen you owed it to this body to actually come and put this statement on the record. And it is greatly appreciated, and it's just good to see you again. Can't express that enough. So I value your opinion. I value your courage coming here today to really, express to us the impact that this is going to have. This could be one of those unintended consequences that we could say we didn't know anything about, but you made sure that we did, and I really appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Well, thank you, Ms. Camper. I appreciate those kind remarks, and I'm happy to see you today, too. Well, thank you.
All right, thank you, Leader Camper. All right, members, any other questions for our guest? Hearing none and seeing none, Mr. Bradley, again, thank you for being here very much. So without objection.
Mr. Chairman, I have a written statement that I left at your office, and I have copies if the committee would like to have it.
I'll be sure to get that passed out.
All right.
Thank you. All right, without objection, we're going to go back into session. We're back in session, and we're back on the bill 1176. I'm going to go to the sponsor first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate the opinion of our witness as well. Always value folks to weigh in, but I would also like to advise the committee that the Airport Authority in this particular situation actually had their outside financial counsel take a look at all aspects of this particular legislation. Of course, I have their letter here. I'm not going to read that from their counsel, but they would respectfully disagree with that particular testimony. And even if there was any issue of the technical language of a component unit of the state, what we can do there, if it's an issue, is simply remedy or address that issue with appropriate language in an appropriations bill or any other legislation that provides for proper permanent appropriation of the revenues, at least equal to the revenues produced by the Airport Authority. So there is a fix. I've been in deep conversations with the Comptroller's Office, with the Comptroller's General Counsel, and also Mr. Bradley's also spoken with them as well and also agrees that this is a fix if this becomes any type of an issue that we have to address later on. So this is not something that we are concerned about. We have certainly done our due diligence on our behalf to make sure this would work with the current legislation that's before you. So with that, I want to make sure you are aware of that. Issues has been fully vetted. And again, if there is any issue that needs to be addressed, we can address that. Mr. Chairman, with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you, Representative Garrett. Any discussion on House Bill 1176? Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the sponsor. As I'm reading the legislation and listening to what has been proposed, I haven't had a chance to really ask the question, but is there a particular reason why this bill does not allow the chief executive of the city in which the airport is geographically located to have at least equal opportunity numerically to appoint members to the board?
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Under the airport now in Metro has become more of a regional airport over the years. It's been a successful airport. Nashville, the surrounding counties that under the FAA's 14 zone county that they count for what the airport impacts, even though the impact is much larger than just Davidson County and those 14 counties. 70% of the passenger activity for the airport comes outside of Nashville. Nashville has 30%. Over the past decade, more than a decade, we've provided $130 to $140 million worth of funding for the Nashville airport. I believe this budget has a $6 million appropriation for the airport. Metro Nashville government, and along with others that fit with a regional airport, provide zero funding for the airport. There's some ancillary services that may be required given the geographical location, but this airport is for all Tennesseans. It's for all of us. It's for the folks that fund it, that we have to go home and answer questions to about why we appropriate their tax dollars when one particular geographical area gets all the authority over what happens in that area, when by the own FAA guidelines says it's an impact of 14 counties that surround Davidson County. But we know that it's more than that. We know that the airport services folks beyond this state, beyond in Kentucky and Alabama and all the border states that are around us, because this airport has done such a great job with its current leadership, its current staff in place. So it's no longer just isolated to one particular county. So therefore, it's incumbent upon all of us that represent our constituents that we make sure their voice is heard through tax dollars that we spend. That's not our dollars. They're not Nashville dollars. They're all Tennesseans' dollars. And so that's why, Representative Love, that it is the composition of the board is for all Tennesseans because they have the voice under this current airport authority.
Representative Love.
Thank you, and I really appreciate that in-depth explanation. I, again, having been someone who was born in Nashville and watched the expansion of the city and seen the growth of the region, to your point, would it not then be even more appropriate to allow the executives of the surrounding counties, like Robertson and Rutherford, Wilson, Sumner, to then also have an opportunity to appoint someone to this same board that then, as your point, affects the entire region? If we're talking about spreading the voices, increasing voices of not just Nashville dollars, but dollars for all the counties, would it not then be appropriate also to spread that across those other mayors and county executives?
Representative Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I thought about that. I thought about the geographic 14 counties that touch the airport authority, that they should have a voice. And I've been hesitant to do that because of the geographical location of the airport that resides in Davidson County. So that is the specific reason why in this particular legislation that I have kept it where the board will be appointed by those that are in Davidson County, because that's the voice that Davidson County would have on this voice, or the role that Davidson County would have, because it would be made up of Davidson County residents instead of residents on in other particular counties. So that's the reason why that provision, in my opinion, is still in this legislation, to make sure your concern is addressed, that the residents of Davidson County right now are the only ones that would be appointed are those from that county.
Representative Love.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, sponsor.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sponsor, based on the testimony that our speaker gave, you said that you didn't have any concerns, that you felt that his concerns were remedied via the council's letter that you have and working with the comptroller's office. Is that correct?
Representative Garrett?
Yes, Leader.
Okay. Well, is it possible for members to see the letter that you're talking about? It could be afterwards. I just want to be able to look at it to see if it addressed the various issues, because I am concerned about the debt that he mentioned and taking on the responsibility of the airport authority.
Representative Garrett?
Absolutely. And it's my understanding that this letter, along with the letter from the FAA that demonstrates no issues there, have been given to actually the mayor's office, the Metro Council, et cetera. So I have absolutely no problem with sharing that letter with whoever wants it.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to go on the record, Mr. Chairman, stating that I still have some unreadiness and some concerns about this. I was inclined to ask the sponsor to maybe roll it a week and let us talk about the concerns that our speaker had. But if you believe that they've been addressed, then I will not ask you to do that. But that was initially what I was going to ask of the sponsor, so that we could mitigate it before it gets to full.
Representative Garrett?
Are you open to that?
I think the legislation right now is fine, so I believe it's ready to move forward.
Leader Camper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Further discussion. We are again on House Bill 1176. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 1176. Moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1176 moves to full finance. Yeah, we're going to do Carr and Farmer. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, committee.
Thank you. Members, we have Representative Farmer, or Chairman Farmer and Chairman Carr. We're going to try to work their bills off. They've waited patiently. So let's go. Let's see here. Let's just take them in order. Give me just a second. Let's just go ahead and grab item number 5 first. So item number 5 will be House Bill 1117 by Chairman Carr. You have a motion and a second. You are recognized for a brief description on House Bill 1117.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All this bill does is it lets the TWRA not have to post when their hunting seasons are in the current county clerk's office anymore. It just takes that away, lets them put it on their website, and it helps the county clerks.
All right. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1117. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1117, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1117 goes behind the budget. Brings us to item number 6, also by Chairman Carr, House Bill 297. We have a motion to second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Yes, sir. I want to explain this in just a bit. This is the law to exempt. It's exempting federal new market tax credit transaction from Tennessee franchise and excise tax. When these new market tax credits come down and the people borrow that money, then the banks or the entity that loans it, they also pay F&E taxes, but also the people that get the money have to pay the Tennessee F&E tax, and so we're trying to take that off. Let me give you a quick example. The container technology down in Scott County, they had a transaction of over $14 million, and the Tennessee F&E taxes on that was $408,161, or $58,309 annually.
Chairman Carr, let me stop you just for a second. I think you may be on the wrong bill. We're on House Bill. You just described the bill we just put behind the budget. Let's go with 297, the wildlife bill.
You put 6 behind the budget?
No, we put 5 behind the budget. That's the one you're describing, 1117. So you've got House Bill 297 dealing with game and fish laws.
That's I had that as number 5. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That is okay. Thank you. That House Bill 297 is the one where they no longer have to post all the hunting and fishing scheduling. Thank you very much. All right.
Question has been called on the bill. Objection to the call on the question. Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on House Bill 297, moving on to full finance. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 297 moves to full finance. Thank you, Chairman.
Are we on 11 this, you done took care of this other one, didn't you?
We took care of you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I just had a very hard meeting. Thank you, sir.
understand.
Appreciate it.
Item number 10 is going to be House Bill 1361 by Chairman Farmer. You have a motion and a second. You're recognized for a brief description.
Hey, thank you, members. What this bill does, it increases the property tax exemption for 100% disabled veterans from $175,000 to $210,000.
All right, thank you very much. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1361. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is the cost associated with House Bill 1361, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it a later day. So without objection, House Bill 1361 goes behind the budget. All right, that brings us to item number 11 on our calendar. Item number 11 on our calendar is House Bill 1362 by Chairman Farmer. You have a motion and a second, and it looks like there's an amendment that needs to be filed on this bill, drafting code 006313. Is that correct? We have a motion and a second. We'll get this bill in the proper posture, and then we'll let you explain the bill, if that's okay with you. Any discussion on the amendment 6313? Hearing none and seeing none, we're now voting on 6313 on the House Bill 1362. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Back on the bill as amended. You're recognized.
Yeah, thank you, members. This bill originally came to me with some cleanup on the Sports Wagering Advisory Council. For example, it would change it from advisory council to a council. Then we added a few things on it, some amendments, does 2 or 3 things. The handle tax, it brings it from a complicated structure to something that's very clear and concise to 1.85%. Relieves a mandate of obtaining official league data, mandate using one company to allow them to conduct their business how they please. And it also, let's see, that's it.
All right. Thank you, Chairman. Members, you've heard the description of House Bill 1362. Any discussion? Hearing none and seeing none, there is a cost associated with House Bill 1362, so we will have to place it behind the budget and consider it at a later date. So without objection, House Bill 1362 is behind the budget.
Thank you, members.
All right. Members, give us just a second here. All right, members, again, our time is up here, so any bills that were not taken up on today's calendar will be rolled 1 week. Without objection, so moved. And members, without objection, we stand adjourned. So moved.